So, December 10th, 2020, Cyberpunk 2077 released. It was one of the most hyped and anticipated games of the last decade and had over 8 million pre-orders. Within hours of release, it beat the world record for concurrent players on Steam. Now, let's take a step back. Before the game launched, there was news of bugs and glitches in the review space from people who had obtained pre-release copies. CD Projekt Red did eventually address this, saying that the Day 1 patches and Day 0 patches would fix a lot of these issues or something of that sort. So maybe there wasn't too much to worry about, I thought, right? Well, another major flag to me should have been watching IGN's review and them not being allowed to use their own gameplay. I had never seen this before in a review where this was the case, although I am sure it has happened before. I'm not too familiar with CD Projekt Red, so I thought maybe this is just their common practice. Maybe it's a marketing thing where they just want the most exciting and, the best gameplay to entice people. It had nothing to do with the bugs. A friend then tells me to check out our review on Tom's Hardware, where the 3090, a $1,500 graphics card, was struggling with ray tracing on in native 4K to get even in the ballpark of 60 FPS. Now, I know better than to think this is just a quote next-gen issue, where the game is just too graphically intensive for the hardware on the market. Call of Duty Cold War was released 2020 this year and coincided with the new console releases, and features ray tracing. And in this game, Call of Duty Cold War, I can easily get 60 FPS with ray tracing on medium and every other setting maxed out on an entry-level RTX card, the 2060. So, I immediately thought this is just a case of poor optimization in Cyberpunk 2077, which made no sense considering that there was a huge marketing hype specifically around ray tracing in this game, which in its current state pretty much makes the game unplayable, at least in my opinion and from my experience. So, I researched this a little more, and I saw that there was the Day 0 patch was going to be 40 gigabytes, and there was also a Day 1 patch, and I thought, wow, 40 gigabyte patch, that's a lot. That must fix most of these problems, surely. Well, the final red flag that I missed was the lack of PS4 and Xbox One gameplay. Any console gameplay at all. I've been following the game for quite a while, and I remember CD Projekt Red coming out and boasting and saying that it was going to be great on console or something to that tune. I bought into the hype, I trusted CD Projekt Red, the game would be polished and mostly bug-free on PC, and the same for console. Now back to present day. CD Projekt Red's stock price has plummeted after releasing what has been a huge retail success. What the heck is going on? Well, simply put, they have screwed themselves with their dishonesty. The trust in the studio has been very much lost at not just a consumer level, but from a business level too. Time will only tell if they rebound from this, but I think many consumers, such as me, will not trust the studio again. Now, before we get more into this, I want to say that Cyberpunk 2077 itself, the game I love on PC. It has not been bug-free, but it has been very playable, and so far I haven't encountered anything truly game-breaking and had a lot of fun. The worst glitch or bug that I've had so far is a particular level or mission where enemies just wouldn't load in, there was no one to shoot at, and I tried restarting, and I had to load back into the game to a previous save, which is a little annoying because I had to go back to a point and replay some of the stuff that I'd already done, and then once I got to that mission, all the enemies loaded in, everything was fine, and I could progress in the game. So, and this is not going to mean me poo-pooing all over Cyberpunk 2077 itself, or criticizing the developers of the game, the actual people, the devs, that worked on this tirelessly with lots of overtime and crunch to release this game before Christmas. I know they worked very hard on this game. This is criticism of the company itself and the people at the top and their dishonesty surrounding the launch, and my attempt to explain and understand what the heck just happened here, and how all of this dishonesty and a few poor decisions took a game that could have been the best in decades and very highly renowned into what has been a controversial release that could tarnish the company's name permanently in both the gaming space and the business world. It's so disappointing considering this game's potential, and don't get me wrong, it is still a great game. And even though I haven't had anything truly game-breaking happen to me personally, all of this dishonesty puts a very poor taste in my mouth. So, where is the first place they went wrong? Well, first off, go back to all of those red flags I mentioned earlier, which are obvious examples of dishonesty. And then there was the company's decision to publicly promise no more game delays that really screwed themselves and forced them to release a game that they absolutely knew wasn't ready. And for any of you who had their doubts that they didn't know, they knew. The fact that the game is unplayable on console and they did not release any footage of it, it's not a coincidence. And from their public apology, which I'll get to in a minute, they obviously did know, and they know they shouldn't have done that. So, and for those of you who do not know how bad this is on console, because you've been playing it on PC, just stop this video and go look at some of the stuff on console. It is laughably bad. And the next gen argument I'm hearing from some PC guys just isn't valid. Black Ops 3 was released in 2015 and looks way better than this game does in 2020 on the exact same PS4. I am sure the developers knew and pleaded for more time to finish the game and better optimize it for all platforms. Instead, they tried to cash in on the hype, lie, and censor journalists so millions of people would buy the game at launch, misinformed, only to discover that the game was not what was promised. This was very clear from their actions before launch. This was, of course, a very short-sighted decision. Sure, it made them lots of money now, but it's not an exaggeration to say the studio's reputation, and therefore its business itself, has been threatened by these poor decisions. Very recently, the studio has issued an apology, if you can call it that, saying, quote, and it's much longer if you want to read the whole thing, "We would like to apologize for not showing you the game on base console before it premiered, and therefore, in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision," end quote. This apology made me even more mad, because they are not sorry. They're just trying to save face with their investors by smoothing things out with us, the gamers, and I don't think it's gonna work. Then in an interview, there were some comments with them saying something along the lines of blah 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 BS, where it claimed that the bugs on PC that people were seeing were a result of too many different PC configurations, which to me is just obviously a total lie. And it makes no sense when you consider that the game is completely broken on console, but the console only has a few different kinds of configurations. So if it was truly a configuration issue, shouldn't console be way better and PC be way worse? I don't think I've ever seen a game that looks so bad and ridiculous and with funny glitches that I have seen as this game released on console. And to me, this interview showed me that they weren't really taking full responsibility. They were just trying to smooth things out. That's all they were trying to do. Besides that, there were also game-breaking glitches in the first hour of gameplay on console reported by thousands of people. They absolutely knew how bad it was, but chose to release it anyway. It sucks, because I love the game so much, but the company's practice here seriously made me to consider returning the game and boycotting the studio forever. I mean, they lied that frickin' bad, where I'm seriously considering returning a game that I love. Now granted, I've thought about it, and I'm too into the game to return it now. But I seriously considered it. Like I said, they wanted to cash in on the hype, worry about the fallout later. And this must be so sad for the developers who spent 8 frickin' years on this game. This game is their baby, only to have it pushed out, unfinished, and unoptimized for any platform. Because let's be real, it is playable on PC, but it's not polished. And it is terrible on console. And there's also the issue of terrible ray tracing optimization, which is a super marketed feature of this game, and you pretty much have to turn it off. Unless you're using some high-end card. But for the majority of regular people out there playing on 2060s, 70s, stuff like that, you're going to have to turn it off. Now, then there is the PC elitists saying, "Oh man, this is just a next-gen game, you don't get it." No, they don't get it. and they are just ignorant and should shut up. We are all gamers. Stop this elitism crap. And even the lunatics who got their hands on the 3090s can't play this game in native 4K with ray tracing on and achieve 60 FPS. I mean, they should be just as mad. And granted, some are, and some just don't seem to care. And there's people like me who really can't notice that much of difference with ray tracing anyways, so I'm not too disappointed to turn it off, but I do feel kind of angry that I've been lied to, and like the biggest part of this is the dishonesty. So, all of these actions by the game, all of this lying, deceit, trying to censor journalists, this just shows me that the studio is acting as perverse, money-hungry mofos. Let's take a step back. Let's calm down. So, what should they have done? Well, to me, it's pretty frickin' simple. Delayed the release. End of story. I don't think it's that complicated. They already spent 8 years on this game. What's another year? And if they wanted the business boom of the holiday season, heck, just release it in 2021. It's a pandemic year. People would be disappointed, sure, but eventually they would understand or just get over to it, and it would lead to even more hype. Then when the game came out polished and nice, and a great game, people would rant and rave about it. There would be great reviews. There would be a bunch of people who would buy it, just like they did now, pre-released, and then guess what? More people would keep buying it because there would be all this positive coverage. Unlike now, where a lot of people are not even going to buy the game that were planning on buying it. I have friends that just aren't going to buy this game who are planning on it. They saw the release, they saw it came out, and they're just not going to get it. And some of my friends who don't have PCs, they just have consoles, they feel left out in the cold because they really wanted to get this game, but they know it's not worth it to get it on console right now. So, alright, well, if they were dead set on releasing it this holiday season, fine. I disagree, but that would be okay if you just released it on PC, only with the caveat of, future optimizations for ray tracing, bug fixes, and patches coming soon, so people know what to expect. Or, release it as, I've heard this, that, release it as, an early, access, we know people are really wanting to play this game, and blah, 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 and so we're going to give you access now, but just know that we're working on polishing up the whole game. But, in my opinion, waiting a year or however long it would take is the better option, because this could have made them serious bank cashing on the hype like they did. But then there would be a wave of positive reviews. There would be the hype would stay hype, and all of this would lead to more people buying the game steadily even after the release. This could have made them one of the most famous studios in the world, and with the most acclaimed game of the last 2 decades. I mean, this game could have been that good. It could have been like a once-in-a-couple-decade kind of game, and granted, the story is still amazing. But all of this stuff leaves a very bad taste in your mouth as a consumer. And there's a lot of public controversy around this, and now the console reviews are coming out, and they are just tanking the overall score of the game, which came out in the 90s, and I am sure it's going to be a lot lower as time goes on. The potential of this game was enormous. And now, the studio might never recover in the public eye. Budgets will probably get cut, and the next game will be even worse. That's what I'm predicting. This may be the beginning of a downward spiral for CD Projekt Red. And maybe all of this will blow over with patches in the game, improving, the overall gameplay on both console and PC. But like I said, PC is playable at this point, but there's still enough bugs and glitches to make it very annoying at times. And so maybe just the pure story of this gameplay will eventually overcome all the lies and the deceit used to sell this game. And I actually do really hope that is the case, because this is a creative and unique game, and the people who worked on it, the actual people working to create this game deserve props for their creativity and their hard work. And I'm sure they are so disappointed at how this all launched and everything like that. Like I said, this is their baby. They spent 8 years on it. And the decisions of the people at the top have just screwed them over. And it's unfortunate, to say the least. It really is. So, I love the game, but I officially now hate the company and the people at the top of CD Projekt Red. Practices like this are not okay. They should never be okay. We should never accept them. And this reminds me of like what Nvidia did recently with Hardware Unboxed. We should not accept stuff like that. We should not accept stuff like this. When any company does something like this, we need to raise enough hoopla so they know not to try it again. So, time will tell if CD Projekt Red recovers this. I don't think they will. I think this will be the last big hype game that they will ever release. I think it's a downhill road for them, and I don't think they're going to completely recover from this. You know, if you look at their stock price, it's not looking too good for them on a business level. And granted, this has been a huge retail success, but all of this negative coverage is not good for them in both the eyes of the gaming space and the investors. So, we will see if they overcome this or they not. But this may be the beginning of a downward spiral, like I said, for CD Projekt Red, which is so unfortunate considering this game's immense potential and how it could have been one of the most acclaimed games of the last 2 decades. But because of their dishonesty, and their deceit, and their lies, I don't think that's how it's going to end up. So, with all of that, I leave you, the consumer. What do you think? Are you upset? Or does the quality of the story make up for all of the studio's actions? Do you not really care? Or do you feel lied to and very, very hurt by the actions of this company? Are you a console gamer that bought it and can't play it? Or are you a PC gamer and you're having a great time with it? Let me know what you think, the consumers out there. I am just one consumer, and this is my opinion. So, have a great day.